Hey folks, welcome back to the trail. Well, today I'm going to touch on a really hot button subject in my country for the last couple days for sure. The status of the ostriches at the ostrich farm. I'm going to try to give you the Coles footnotes, but I'm long-winded. This is not new. If you think this has just popped up, they've been fighting for their ostriches for like roughly 8 months now. A couple of them had the bird flu way back then, and they wanted to do a mass cull on the 400 ostriches. The owner was like, well, let me test them, and the answer was no. And they were told, if you test them, you will have severe fines. And they didn't want to test them either, like the CFIA. So then shortly after that, one of the ostriches within the farm was sniped. One. So one, perished as a result. And then after that, a bunch of people came to the aid of the farmer and the ostriches and set up camp, and on their own time, in between working or whatnot, or some of them are retired, but giving of their own time to patrol the outside and keep the ostriches safe. And they've been doing this for almost that 8-month period of time. So there's that. So, this woman has gone to court many, many times to try to save her ostriches, which I'm sure is not cheap. And yeah, they have their own things within their family, I'm sure, that are happening. Just tons and tons of stress. So then yesterday, the big horn-honking convoy of RCMP and whoever else showed up, making a bunch of noise, and then the CFIA were there, in and out of the compound. The ostriches were so riled up and stressed the whole entire time. The owners asked if they could continue with the feeding in the morning because they had some of them fed. They were told no. They were actually removed off of their own property, which meant half of the birds roughly were not fed. So they were not fed for because they were fed the day prior, right? So like over 24 hours, half of the ostriches hadn't eaten. So there's that. But then you've got fence panels set up and foreign straw and hay coming into the farmer's compound. She didn't order that because they were setting up the stations to do the mass cull. But the CFIA were in and out and around with their hazmats on, in and out of the compound. So really not doing what their role is, protecting livestock and, the health and welfare of them. They were just assuming that these birds were going to be mass culled. But didn't it dawn on them that they may be able to appeal this and get a stay? And if so, they should have practiced way more controlled when they were in and out and dealing with these birds. I had heard that the CFIA had even contacted the owner to find out how to feed these birds. So then they dropped food in the same pen that the birds were already fed in. So then the other half were still not fed. So then within the compound that they had set up, the CFIA, that was surrounded by RCMP, had their own fire within the walls of the straw and hay last night. So the smoke was everywhere. It was a big fire. Nobody knows as of yet what the hell that was all about, but it was started on the inside and not from the outside. So yes, the owners were returned yesterday, but they were told if they went near the compound in which the birds were, they would be arrested again. So they could not care for, there was a couple wounded birds in the sick pen or whatever they call it, because they had been flying drones and stuff, which has supposedly been a no-fly zone for like 30 years. But they were flying drones, and then just the whole hoopla of the cars and the four-wheelers going around and around the compound had those ostriches running, scared. I mean, yeah, so one had fallen and hurt itself, still is injured. So the owner was not allowed to go in and care for her animals, feed them and whatnot on her own frigging property during this whole entire time that the CFIA were inside her compound with her ostriches on her land, being surrounded by RCMP. That is not a good goddamn feeling. You know, how is that a great feeling? It's not. I would be so... So anyways, they were doing like a prayer thing this morning, and as they were doing it, the word came in that they got their Supreme Court stay. There's a train coming, so I'm going to wrap this up. So we were all so happy. They were so happy. They are going to get their day in the Supreme Court, and those beautiful birds, prehistoric birds, with lots of health and scientific perks, are safe until the Supreme Court date. Yay! Yay for Canada today. Frig, yeah.